Here we go. There we go.
There we go.
Hi, Talia.
Good afternoon. I'm Mark McCormick. I'm Chair of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission, Office of the Kansas Governor. I officially call this meeting of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission to order on January 6th, 2023. To order by stating Kansas Open Meeting Act guidelines. Due to distance, health, and safety concerns, members of the public are not in attendance at this meeting. However, full access to this meeting is being provided by a medium of interactive communication. This virtual medium will provide members of the public without cost the ability to listen using teleconferencing as available. The agenda for this meeting has been posted on the Kansas Public Square website and may be requested by emailing the Kansas African American Affairs Commission office at kaaac.ks.gov. Each member of the commission, staff, and guests will state their name and title each time they begin speaking or voting so that the individuals can be readily identified by remote listeners. All participants are required to ensure that microphones, telephones, or electronic devices are muted when not speaking so that the ability of remote listeners or observers to hear the meeting is not unnecessarily impeded. A public comment opportunity will be provided at the beginning of each commission meeting, following the roll call and the chairman's opening comments. During this meeting, the commission will not recess to a closed executive session pursuant to KSA 7543-19. Each motion, if any, will be clearly stated and restated before the commission, and the chairperson will announce the results of the final vote. Commissioners and guests, please note that this meeting is being recorded. Thank you and welcome to the Kansas African American Affairs Commission meeting. I'll move to the roll call. Commissioner New.
I'm present.
Commissioner Davis.
Present.
Commissioner McRoy.
Present.
Commissioner Penn.
Present.
And Commissioner Westbrook.
Present.
Great. In the interest of time, I'm going to forego any opening comments and move right to public comment. We do have some visitors today. Do any of our visitors have something to add to our meeting today?
Mr. Chairman, McCormick, if I may,
Sure.
Senator Oletha Fauscudo, Wichita, the 29th District. I am also the Assistant Minority Leader of the Kansas Senate, and I am just delighted that we're getting to visit with each other prior to the 23 legislative session. I would like to say, for the record, I did email everyone this morning just a little bit about the current law and the purpose of the Kansas African American Affairs Commission. And over time, individuals have addressed me saying they were a bit confused about language in the law that says that meetings should be conducted. And so I will introduce a committee bill to just add language to say, to define the difference between meetings that you might have or we might have, and add in the language clarifying the original intent of a town hall meeting periodically when the KAAC commissioners so deem necessary. And so that would be one thing, and you can go back and read the email if you haven't. And then I am asking Stacy, the director, I will email her. I'm going to be dealing with about 10 different bills, and just 3 of them I really want your help on, which would be a holiday sales tax on school supplies. And I have pre-filed Senate Bill 2, and I'm still trying to help those with a revoked driving license status. That will be one. And then the Crown Act and some other bills. And then this morning on the phone, Representative Valdina Wynn and we discussed the Martin Luther King Day at the Capitol. For years, we've just known that event would take place. However, the Native Americans, they have Native American Day at the Capitol in the law. There was a bill introduced and their activity is in the law, and the Latinos Hispanic Day on the Hill, it's in the law. And so I visited with Representative Fort Carr this morning as well. And so it's like some of our colleagues will forget that we have Martin Luther King Day. So they scheduled their retreat at the same time as our Martin Luther King Day at the Capitol. So Representative Wynn and I will introduce legislation in the event that all of us get rich and move to Paris, that it would be in the law that Martin Luther King Day would take place at the state capitol. And as I said, I'll email my other bills that I'm working on. And again, I'm just pleased to get to see all of your faces and meet the new commissioners. And Mr. Chairman McCormick, thank you so much for the time.
Thank you. Executive Director Nell, do you have any comments?
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is Executive Director Nell. This is Stacy Nell. Hi. Thanks, everyone, for joining and for jumping on the meeting. So nice to have everyone today. I know we had hoped originally to do this in person. I know we were the original impulse was to, oh, hang on, people are still coming in. The original impulse was to try to have one a quarter meeting in person. And, funny, now everyone is calling me. Okay, sorry, turn that off. But thank you for Zoom. We can still get this together and still have a meeting anyway. So, Senator Falscato, thank you for the legislative updates of what you have planned. I did get that email this morning about the change in the statute. That was the first I'd heard of it, so it was news to me. It was kind of a surprise. I didn't know that was what you had in mind. It was news to me. So and I'm glad that we know about it now. If you have any current, further ideas or plans or changes to the statute, do make sure to keep us abreast of what's going on, since it's actually, I was reading it. I'm like, okay, well, it's going to impact what the commission does. So maybe I don't know if we could collaborate more or just be more involved, or just sort of keep us up on any new ideas that you have as they come about. Yes. In terms of the executive director update, we are still doing the lunch and learns. I took a hiatus because of the state holidays for Christmas and New Year's Day, and then the inauguration is happening on Monday, so I'll be at that. But after that, we'll start up with the lunch and learns again. They've been highly successful. Some of the ones that have had lots of 300s of views off Facebook, so they've been very successful. I would continue to encourage everyone to, even if you don't take the half an hour to watch them, as you are able, please share them, or just hit like and keep on scrolling, because every interaction helps the algorithms to help it get out, right? So anything that you can do, and I am putting them on YouTube. So they are on YouTube into perpetuity, right? So you can share them on your own. I think that's really the biggest thing that I could ask of you in terms of individual help with getting the word out. For lack of a better way of doing it, the way that I'm communicating with people is through social media and via email on the listserv, and just those real popular channels: Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and email. And I know not everyone has Twitter, not everyone has Facebook, not everyone watches YouTube, and not everyone checks their email. But I can't call every Black person in the state. So anything that you can do to help share the message out would be extremely helpful. Then I'm also just, the brief, in fact, I have two applications and a third person to call today. I'm looking to hire another intern for the legislative session. and had shared that out. And so I actually got people. And so today after this, my days have been sort of back to back. But today, this afternoon, is to look through those intern applications and see about hiring another intern. So that would be helpful to get some help into the legislative session. And that's essentially it for what I'm doing right now. Obviously, lots of planning with the Martin Luther King event. I know I heard about the House retreat at the same time as Martin Luther King event, and I'm like, oh darn, that's a bummer, because taking a piece of advice from Senator Falscadeau last year, and in fact they should be delivered today. I have a little printed save the date card that was going to be put in all the legislators' mailboxes on Monday saying this is happening on Thursday. So I was, doing the best I can to get the word out to the legislative body, but what can we do? And then the Black Legislative Day at the Capitol is Valentine's Day. So for the sake of all the legislators who are on the call, who may not be on the call later when we do announcements at the very end, the Black Legislative Day is Valentine's Day, Tuesday, February 14th. I will be in touch with some of you to set up meetings with constituents like I did last year. So hopefully we can get some of those set up. So that is essentially it for me. I will close off my microphone here and just continue to take notes.
Thank you, Executive Director Nell. I do notice that we have guests. Do any of our guests have anything that they'd like to add or say? It's nice to have you today.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I'm traveling from one place to another, and I had to pull over in my vehicle, and it's difficult to try to get this Zoom meeting to work correctly from my telephone. However, I just wanted to take a moment to introduce myself. I am Representative Ford Carr of the 84th District. I would like to thank the Kansas African American Affairs Commission for the invitation. I really wasn't aware of everything that the commission was responsible for and their duties. So I'd like to thank Senator Falscadeau for not only sending out the information, but spending some time with me in explanation personally as well. With that being said, I would also like to bring up an issue that I'll certainly be looking for support from the commission, and I will reach out to you later. But in respect to a facility that I feel is much needed, based on some of the recent law changes and what's taking place in our judicial system with our children. I feel it necessary that we create a facility whereby we don't just confine those children, but we give them the tools to be successful in life as well. I've been in contact with some individuals that are currently in our foster care system, in that they have care homes, and there's actually a business plan that has been submitted. I learned of that this morning, and they're going to be looking for support from not only our legislators, but also members here of this commission. So I'll be circling back around to stay in contact with you regarding that, but I wanted to certainly put it out here right now, since I have the opportunity to look forward to that upcoming, because it's something that I believe our youth desperately need. And again, Mr. Chair and members of the commission, thank you for having me. And I'm Ford Carr. I'm replacing Gail Finney in the 84th District.
Thank you, Representative Carr. I can't pass up the opportunity to say that Representative Carr is visiting us from his car. But do any of the commissioners want to speak directly to Representative Carr, or shall we move on? The chair recognizes Commissioner Davis.
Thank all of you for coming. I'm in what would be the first district for our commission. I'm in Salina, and I wanted to talk on this sensitive issue of Medicaid expansion. And I've spoken with the governor, such as I can, but in Salina, we have a lot of new business coming to town. We have a deficiency of childcare, and a lot of the deficiency is based on or due to owners, smaller owners, not being able to afford to pay childcare workers what they really need to be paid to keep them. Paying benefits is just out of the question. And I asked, and I realized an election year wasn't a great year to ask this, but could Salina be a pilot program where child care workers, once properly trained or certified, would be eligible for Medicaid if they needed it? If the finances were such that they didn't need it, no problem. But really, to avoid the political discussion on Medicaid expansion, this would be an economic development tool. Now, if its worth is proven, then you may get some benefits down the road. But just asking if there's any like-mindedness for Medicaid expansion, or any way to even get a limited version of this pushed through for economic development purposes.
This is the chair. We will probably be discussing that a little later in the agenda when it comes to setting our legislative priorities.
Great. Yeah, if we could get it for the whole state, great. I don't know what your outlook for getting that accomplished is this year. I'm sure the governor thinks she's going to get it done. But certainly, always like to have a plan B in the back pocket just in case. But appreciate that, Mr. McCormick.
The chair again. It's probably also important to note that Commissioner Davis is also Dr. Davis, so he has some expertise in this area. Representative Penn or Representative Boyd, would you like to have a word?
Mr. Chair McCormick, if your members could introduce themselves, I don't know all of them. That certainly would be great.
Certainly. Dr. New, why don't we begin with you?
Certainly. I'm Burl New. I'm here in Topeka. I have been on the commission, probably about 6 years, 7 years. And I work for Topeka Public Schools as the Director of Certified Personnel and Equity. And I've had the privilege of meeting you, Senator Falscadeau, many, many times, and appreciate the great work that you do. And even being able to support the Crown Act by being present in the hearings. And I look forward to anytime you or any of you representatives or senators call. I'm very happy to come up to the Capitol and support in any way I can. I can look out my window and see your building. So that lets you know how close I am. So even if you give me a few hours notice, if you need me to be there, I'm happy to be there for you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. New. Commissioner Penn.
Hello, this is Commissioner Penn. I am from Wichita area. I don't want to keep saying this, but I'm the newest commissioner on that was added back in July last year. And it's awesome. It's a privilege to be here with you guys.
Great, thank you. Dr. Lewis.
Hello, Commissioner Anthony Lewis, also Superintendent of Lawrence Public Schools. This is, I think, beginning my 4th year on the commission. Also had the opportunity to serve on the Governor's Commission on Racial and Equity Justice, which there was a tremendous amount of work done there in regards to, I think, some things that could also be a part of our legislative parties for this upcoming session.
Awesome, thank you. Commissioner McRoy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Commissioner McRoy, Wichita. Just want to thank, first of all, members of the Legislative Black Caucus, as well as our guests for being present with us today, and thank you for your service. a little bit about. Currently, I do.
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties there. Can you hear me, Commissioner McRoy? I'll come back to him.
He has dropped off and rejoined a couple times. He might be having some connectivity issues.
It does appear so. Commissioner Westbrook.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Commissioner Westbrook, living in Kansas City, Kansas. Thank you all for your time, your service, and it's good to see you all. Happy New Year.
And last but not least, Dr. Davis.
I am, my day job is a physician, but my more exciting job, I guess, is on the City Commission in Salina. For another 4 days, I'm serving as the mayor of Salina. I will be just a commissioner in quotes Monday evening, but realize some things we can do locally and some things have to happen in Topeka. So it's glad to put, well, some of your names and faces I've put together before, but it's glad to see you and really appreciate you taking time to come visit with us today.
Great. We'll try Commissioner McRoy again.
His video still looks frozen for me.
Yeah, technology will let us.
Mm-hmm.
The chair recognizes Representative Boyd.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to introduce myself. I'm Brad Boyd, represent the 49th District, parts of Olathe, Kansas, parts of Overland Park. I'm really excited to lend my voice to any conversation I can be a part of, and just look forward to engaging in the work that the Commission does. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Representative Penn, I saw that you appeared on the screen briefly. I wanted to give you an opportunity to add a word.
Good day to you, Mr. Chairman and Commission. How are you all today? Happy New Year. I'm Representative Patrick Penn out of House District 85, the side of Wichita, as well as environs over in Butler County, Township of Benton. Previously served in the last term, some of you know, some of you testified before us in the K through 12 education budget, children and seniors, as well as House Fed and State Affairs Committee. This session, I'll be the Vice Chair of Insurance. I'll be on Commerce, Labor, Economic Development, as well as Utilities, Energy, and Telecommunications, and a new committee that we have called Legislative Modernization. So I would really like to speak with members of the Commission as well as the Executive Director about your lineup that you have for Black Legislative Day. I've attended just about every year since we've either been in office or prior to. There are some ideas and concerns that I have about that I brought up with your past leadership team. And I did want to ask a quick question concerning Senator Elise Falscado's amendment to the law, the statute putting the KAAAC into existence, where it talks about, as she brought up, whether or not there needs to be a delineation for town halls. I thought that was something that was already done. And the biggest question that comes along with that, is there a fiscal note attached to that, or is there more budget associated with that request? Thank you.
This is Chair McCormick. That would be a good question for Senator Falscado.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Penn, thank you for the question and the clarification. If you read because I included you in this email this morning, if you look in the section A, it says conduct meetings. And years ago, when we passed the legislation, that was the intent of it, to say a couple of times a year, have a town hall meeting, perhaps in Wichita and then in the Kansas City area, so that the public that we are here to work for and represent, so that they would have that opportunity of what Stacey Nell is doing now, the lunch and learn or listen and learn, that we show up in person. So just like we did a couple of months ago over at the center. That's so just clarifying current language in the law. That's all it's doing. But however, Representative Penn, you're such a scholar. If you would like to change that or have some other wording but it's just to clarify the word in section A that says conduct meetings. I've had a person ask me, does that mean for you, the commissioners, to conduct a meeting in the Capitol in one of our committee meetings, or what did it mean? And so it's just to clarify, we can keep the language conduct a meeting. Therefore, you guys can kind of play with that language, but just to clarify, to have a town hall meeting, because I have some of the original proposals when this law was first passed to help Black legislators and keep that open communication with our constituents. So that's all it is. Representative Penn, thank you for the question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, this is the chair again. To Representative Penn's point, it does sound like an unfunded mandate. Do you have a?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. I spoke with Governor Kelly when she was here in Wichita. Was that on what's today? Well, she was here a couple of days, the 4th, I believe she was here. And I spoke to her chief of staff, and there is additional funding that we've got the surplus in the governor's budget. I know that the Hispanic Commission and others are seeking additional funding. And so I've already put a bid in because I know everything comes with money. I know that for sure. And so in order to accommodate that, it would be a simple fix of if that's something that we move forward with, and if that language, well, anyway, we need to do that anyway. And I've already requested, just like I recently did for the Urban League of Kansas, I requested $5,000 to go in the governor's state budget. And there is some wiggle room to add funding for this. I did speak with the governor and her chief of staff already. And so it's just another way to service the constituents that we are here to represent. Thank you.
This is the chair again. Representative Penn, did you have a response?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, two things. Number one, I would like a little clarification because I was talking with the majority leader, the elect, about the retreat schedule. It doesn't look like House Republicans have their retreat set over MLK. Ours actually happens in December prior, while we're out of session. And then number two, I would like to wish an early happy birthday to Commissioner Penn, whose birthday is tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday.
Wow. Yeah, happy early birthday. This is the chair. It does appear that Commissioner McRoy has been able to rejoin us. Your introduction, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I apologize for my technical difficulties. I'm not at my usual location. Jonathan McRoy, Wichita area, retired Air Force, currently organizational development over at Textron Aviation. I want to thank the members of the Black Legislative Caucus for joining us today, as well as our guest. And I yield back. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner McRoy is also our vice chair. Thank you all for joining us, and I appreciated your comments and your contributions. We're going to move the meeting to old business. Do any of the commissioners have any old business that they would like for us to deal with? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. Executive Director Nell.
Furiously typing notes. Yes. So our new business, I think what happened at our last meeting was that we decided that we would at this meeting sort of talk about legislative priorities. So if there's any, I see some of the reps have dropped off and Falscato has dropped off. At this point, we're just gonna talk amongst ourselves about things that are going on. So if the representatives don't want to stay, you are more than welcome to drop off. And we'll just talk about you behind your back. But it'll be recorded. You can come back and listen to it later. So it's not like we're doing anything that's not going to be publicly available. but I think, talk about various things. That's why it, like, even when Commissioner Davis earlier was talking about Medicaid expansion, I was like, well, that's kind of what we were going to try to do with this meeting, is to figure out, do we have a legislative priority? What are some things we'd like to do? And come to some sort of consensus. In years past, I guess I've only really done this one other year. It's not always a complete and utter consensus. And there are things that we did not pursue last year because it was not consensus level. So I think, so if the representatives wanted to log off, and I know people are in their cars and traveling, obviously Representative Boyd, I think he just dropped off. So Representative Carr, if you wanted to go, or Patrick Penn, if you wanted to go, Representative Penn, if you want to go, that's all good. Because the new business is pretty much to try to decide if, what our legislative priorities, if any, would be, and how we would wanted to pursue that. And we can do that. And then it's interesting that, yeah, I mean, town halls is something that that I know I've been talking about since literally my first meeting. So I really was hoping that this year could be a year that we could actually do that in a more organized fashion. I know that's been something that I personally have wanted to do. I will reiterate that the senator's email took me off guard, probably as much as it took anyone else off guard, because that was the first I'd heard of it, of the push to actually go in and change the statute. So if that's the case, we'll just have to, I will try to encourage transparency and opency, that's not a word. I will try to encourage transparency and involvement of the commission more, especially if it deals with rewriting our statute. I will try to ensure that happens moving forward, because I know we were all caught off guard by that move today. So I will hopefully, yes, I can see that Commissioner McCormick has raised his hand.
Yeah, this is the chair. I saw that two things. I saw that Commissioner Penn had an additional guest that I'd really like to meet, frankly. Can you introduce your guest?
Yeah, that's Gabriella. She's the youngest of my four. So yeah, you want to see right here? So Daddy Penn is holding her down.
Oh,
right
there she is. Well, hello.
Hi.
Say Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too as well. Second, I thought the record should reflect the fact that, and I don't want to speak for the executive director, but this is what I know, that the intent was always to do some town hall meetings, but we were in a pandemic for 2 or 3 years. And it took some time before people would feel comfortable meeting interpersonally, as opposed to via Zoom. I just wanted the record to reflect that it has always been our intent to do those, but we were precluded in a lot of ways by a historical pandemic that we were facing. That was all I had to share.
Thank you. So this is Executive Director Nell. So back to our legislative priorities. I know Dr. Davis has already talked about Medicaid expansion as a potential legislative priority. Should we discuss this? Like, I'm not sure. Did anyone else want to comment on that as a potential legislative priority, or how to move forward, or what? I guess there's a couple of things that I on the agenda under new business. It's established legislative priorities. And then I want to swing back to the bottoms, like, what does success look like? So like, if any legislative priority that we have, how would we define success attached to that legislative priority? Because it's possible that we would take up an issue that we do not know if it's going to pass. I do not know, given the current makeup of the legislation. I don't know what chances Medicaid expansion has. But sometimes it's good to just do the right thing, because it's to do the right thing, right? If we decide we're going to take up something, even if we think it's going to be successful or not, that's fine. Or do you want to take up something that we think actually we can win? I guess is the question. So just to consider that. But Commissioner Davis has raised the idea of Medicaid expansions being a part of our legislative priority. I see two hands. I see Commissioner Davis and Commissioner New. Davis.
My first question was, maybe I'm missing something with the senator's request to revisit the state statute. Was it implied that we were having town meetings when we weren't authorized to do so? Or, I mean, because, you know, if I'm reading this correctly, the words hearings, conferences was already in the statute, and a town hall meeting could be considered one of those. I mean, there's nothing here that specifically prohibits us from doing them. I guess I'm just not sure what was not quite right with the way it, I mean, other than, yeah, getting us more money to do it would be great, but that, you know, would be an issue whether the wording was changed or not. But
this is
clarify a little bit for me.
Yeah, this is the chair. Again, we were not consulted about that. The first we heard about it was today. But Executive Director Nell, do you have any thoughts you'd like to add to that?
Oh, I have a great many thoughts. I'm just not sure if this is necessarily the forum to air them. I think
You think, therefore you are?
I think I think there are certain members of the populace who have always been clamoring for us to have town hall meetings. I think though there has been a loud minority who have asked us to do town hall meetings. I have never thought that was a bad idea to do town hall meetings. When I first got the job, that was one of the first things I said, hey, let's have town hall meetings. And of course there was a pandemic. And then we did have a town hall meeting in Wichita. Honestly, I was like, we have to have a town hall meeting. It has to be in Wichita. I'm like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I was like, it just has to happen. Make it happen. Whatever goes, we will learn something from this town hall meeting. And then yes, you know, I think it's been no secret that this is something that I've been trying to move forward. The fact that it is raised to the level of statutes is because I think the people who want us to have town hall meetings are very, for some reason, this particular phrase, town hall, is what they want. They don't want meetings. They don't want lunch and learns. They don't want brunches. They don't want anything. It has to be a town hall. Also, I mean, because you read down at the bottom, like, and I went back and compared it, there's also other things in there. They want a report submitted, which is not, and I know I checked for this with KAAC, and they don't do reports. And they don't want email updates. They don't want lunch and learns. They don't want anything. They want a report. Quite frankly, they want a hard copy printed report mailed to them. Okay. So I believe this is still picking my words. I believe this is coming from a small constituency that wants a very specific thing. They have wanted these things for, without exaggeration, over a decade. And I think that Senator Falscadeau has found a way to perhaps to make sure that it happens. Boy, I hope I said that nicely. And so I think, the idea of I've never been opposed to the idea of town halls. I've always thought it was a good idea. When this particular constituent called me, and as they did often, I always agreed with the person. Never thought it was a bad idea. I had considered opening up a statute to change is a thing, because now if we potentially are facing having to go through committee and having to do all the things to change a statute. And so I had sort of taken that off the table as an option early, because I didn't want to do that lift. But if other people want to do that lift, I suppose at this point, all I can tell you is I will try to keep us as involved in that process. Because if there's a serious discussion on the table of changing the statute, at the very least, I would like to involve the commissioners who it's going to impact. as much, or at the bare minimum, involve the chair. at the bare minimum, involve the executive director. So it was news to me. That's all I'm going to say. The whole move was news to me.
The chair would like to recognize Dr. New. I'll come to you in a bit.
Well, thank you. And I guess, well, my comment was actually going to be connected to the legislative priorities. So, but I will say I'm on the Kansas Advisory Group for Juvenile Justice, and we do an annual report to the governor. So I'm not sure if other departments also are expected to. But Senator Falscadeau did mention a few things that I know are carryovers, and so I was just going to offer that. That Senate Bill 2, we've been trying to support that for quite a few years, and I think that would have some validity because it really connects to economic opportunities for individuals who have lost their driving privileges, and some of them for reasons that are very unreasonable. So, and they're disproportionately people of color. So I would think that would be a good cause. The Crown Act, I know they've pushed that for quite a while. It doesn't carry as many serious implications as some of these other things, but still, if you're talking about workplace comfortability for individuals who like to wear natural hairstyles or non-traditional hairstyles, then I think that's important to a group of people. And then the holiday sales tax for school supplies. I know people go over to Missouri to spend their dollars there during, before school starts for those back to school sales for tax-free purchases. So, I think Kansas could increase their revenue simply by pushing that one forward as well. And then it helps a lot of people with limited income. So that was going to be my contribution. And that's it.
Thank you, Dr. New. This is the chair. The chair recognizes Commissioner McRoy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Two things. First, when we're looking at the statute, as KAAC, would I love to be able to call the Kansas High School Athletic Association to come and testify before us on why they allow racial slurs in high school games against Black children? I would love to do that, but we have no power to force that. And so when we look at the statute and what we're able to do, we have to look at not only what it tells us to do, but what is it giving us the power to do? Telling us to do things is that's one piece. The other part of that is, what do we have the power to do? And so that's a very real conversation that needs to be had. Secondly, a legislative priority needs to be a revamp of veterans benefits in our state. A good hard look at veterans benefits in our state would definitely positively impact Black veterans across the state and make our state a state that veterans want to make their home after service. If we can really get veteran talent staying in our community. I mean, we have 3 large military bases here, Fort Riley, Fort Leavenworth, and McConnell Air Force Base. And that's a lot of military talent that's leaving our state. If we can keep that diversified talent in our state, then we can bring industry here and diversify that industry. So I think this is a very important initiative as well. And with that, I yield back. Thank you.
This is Chair McCormick. That's a really good point, Commissioner McRoy, because African Americans do serve out of proportion to their number in the society in the armed forces. That's an interesting idea. The chair recognizes Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mr. McCormick. With the proposed change in the statute, would that be to mandate town meetings? Because as I'm reading this statute now, I would see nothing wrong with us conducting a town meeting with our current, with the current description. I'm hesitant to mandate that you do a certain number of something in a prescribed period of time, because if you feel falls short for whatever reason, that's just another opportunity to be brought under criticism by whoever's trying to criticize you to begin with. The other issue is, and I learned this with the tobacco clean air ordinances that went through cities and states. Once you bring back an ordinance to amend it, it's fair game sitting there. Anybody can come add another amendment to it. And, why expose it to unnecessary risk if the benefit to us is truly minimal? I mean, if we can already do town hall meetings with the way it's written, just leave it alone. Give us more money, but leave the statute alone.
This is Chairman McCormick. Thank you for those comments. I just want to reiterate, the bill would require us to do what we were already planning to do.
So there would be we wouldn't gain anything from it. I mean, I'm learning that being specifically vague is sometimes more advantageous than specifically listing what has to be done. Because once you set a standard and you deviate from it, then you're substandard.
This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, any thoughts before we move on to the next point?
This is Director Nell. Yeah, really, this is an issue of semantics. This is really an issue about quote town hall, end quote. The person who wants town halls. I think our statute is very vague and it's very vague and very broad. And I would need a staff of 12 to do everything that's in this explicitly listed in the statute. Because in the statute, we're supposed to be covering culture and education and economics. We're supposed to be covering a lot of stuff. Like we talked about this somewhat in our strategic planning. So the best I can tell you right now is I will try to make sure that we're involved in anything that happens moving forward. I join with you in hesitancy of opening up the statute because, as you say, if the statute gets open, then a lot can happen. So we'll just have to try to stay up on what's going on moving forward.
Great. This is the chair. Chair recognizes Dr. Lewis.
Hi, this is Commissioner Lewis. Just thinking about Stacey, what you were sharing a moment ago, this, I guess, increased focus just on town hall. I guess a question that I would have, I mean, it may not be able to be answered here. What do they, insert whoever into the they, feel is missing? And is this a true departure from the past of, we used to do town halls, and what was the purpose of those? What do they feel like they're missing? Are there desires to create venting spaces for a large number of people? We have a duty as commissioners on this, and as executive director to the African American community in the state. And so, as we think about our direction, our most recent conversation with our strategic plan, and making sure that we can continue to move the needle on some of the things that we, as a commission, see as needs in the community. So I'm just wondering the why and the what's missing as it relates to the need for this language in the statute.
Thank you, Dr. Lewis. This is the chair. Executive Director Nell, any thoughts?
I think the idea is that if on paper, this is Director Nell, this is completely my interpretation, is that on paper, if we are to function as a liaison between the community and the governor's office, at some point we should get into the community to find out what's important to the community. Which is why I've always been in favor of doing town halls. Whether it's mandated or in the statute was neither here nor there. I just always thought it made sense that if we were to function as a liaison to the community, at some point, it would be good to get into the community. Now, given the people who are on this screen, you are all involved in your community, right? Superintendents of schools, working in systems, working, veterans, doctors and mayors of cities, like you are all involved enough that even if we never talked to the community, in your life, you would know, and we could probably get a good idea of what might be important for our community. But it's also a good idea to go talk to the community, right? Like this is kind of a no-brainer. What do they feel like they're missing? I think they're potentially feeling as though they're missing a listening ear. I feel as though they potentially, and I'm basing this on what I heard in Wichita when we did do a town hall meeting. A listening ear, I think potentially is one thing they feel like they're missing. I would take a guess is that they feel like they are missing their link to the governor's office, right? That somehow, and part of this, in a way, I feel like I'm learning that people don't understand how government works. Like, I think people are severely surprised that right now I could not just walk over to the Capitol and just walk into Governor Kelly's office and go, "Hey, Laura," like, that's just kind of not how it works. Like, one, I don't even know if she's here. She's probably here with the inauguration. So I think they feel like they're missing a link to the governor's office. I feel like they feel as though they're missing an access to power. I think they feel as though they're just like that. Those are two things: missing their access to power, missing their link to the governor's office, and missing a listening ear. Which is why I was never opposed to town hall meetings, because I think the way I read the statute, yeah, we should be a listening ear. Now, whether or not, to Commissioner Davis's point, I think it was Commissioner Davis's point, whether or not we have actually, it was Commissioner McRoy's point, whether or not we actually have any power to do anything with what we hear, I think is going to be the troubling point for some people. Because there have been people who have said, I want KAAC to do XYZ, I want the governor to do XYZ. And the answer has been, we don't have the power, or in some cases, the governor, that's not even what the power the governor has to do that. So that might be disappointing for some if they come to a town hall meeting and say, I'm losing my kids in a court case tomorrow, and I say, I can't help you. But I think, have I answered your question? Otherwise, I'm gonna ramble. Let me stop. Okay.
This is Chairman McCormick. I'd like to push back a little on the notion that maybe the bill is advancing or maybe not intending to advance, but it implies that the town hall is the only means of contacting the commission. Most people have internet service on their cell phone. They could send us an email from their phone, wherever they were. I don't know about the rest of the commissioners, but I have not received a lot of email from constituents, even expressing this concern. That's just my thought. The chair recognizes Commissioner Westbrook.
Hey, so this is Commissioner Westbrook. I had a quick question in regards to this. I'm not as familiar. I apologize ahead of time for not maybe knowing this, but would this be an opportunity for us to actually engage in either broaden our scope of maybe influence or power as well? I understand that they're wanting us to conduct town halls, but is this also an opportunity for us to expand what we can do as a group?
Thank you, Commissioner Westbrook. Executive Director Nail.
This is Executive Director Nell. So I think the simple answer might be yes. The more complicated answer is maybe not. The two things I've always said, say it with me now, raise the profile of the commission, raise the profile of the commissioners, right? So that's part of the reason why I was like, we need to do town halls, because it would do those two things. It would raise the profile of the commission and it would raise the profile of the commissioners. I think I've been a broken record, and that's been my goal since day one. A lot of that has fallen on me. Like, I feel like if anything, I've raised my profile, and that has never been my goal. It was never raise the profile of the executive director. So I think, yes, it potentially could broaden our scope and broaden our opportunity to do things if we this may be the wrong phrase, but if we threw around our weight, like there's a certain amount of power that we just don't, there's a certain amount of power that we just don't have. We are not the legislature, right? If it comes down to any bill, even if we decide to support, and I think it's a good idea to support like the driver's licenses bill or the Crown Act or any of these bills that we know will have an impact on the Black community. Ultimately, we don't vote on any of those bills. So it would definitely could broaden our, yes, it would broaden our scope.
And just a follow up. I mean, so I know that we're limited in what I guess voting or I don't know exact verbiage to use, but I mean, you've done such an amazing job in regards to advancing in it. I think that notoriety comes along with advancement, especially with the commission, with our social media presence and everything else. But I think on one end, if we, I guess I'm trying to watch my wording as well. If this does pan out to where the town halls are done to the manner by which they are looking for, maybe look at some of the other commissions and see how successful, or I don't even want to use the word successful, but how they're able to maybe push any initiatives forward. Maybe we could mirror with this opportunity, again, opening up this statute, seeing what we have more access to, or again, how we can use our, push our political weight, or, however you want to word it. I'm sorry, I'm a little congested here and sinus headache, so I'm not knowing exactly what verbiage to use, but I think a part of me also think this may be an opportunity for us to, again, to expand what we can do and be a little bit more of a powerhouse with the initiatives that we want to speak to. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Do you have a response, Stacy?
No, I think I was taking notes of what you said. I think this is Commissioner Nell. I think this is or Executive Director Nell. Two things you said that I think are good ideas is one, to see if other commissions are doing town halls. Oh, I just totally messed up my hair. I know KAAAC has not. I know that, I guess now maybe 3 years ago they did, but then pandemic, everyone stayed home. And I have never, it's just a good idea to ask, like, hey, do you guys do these? How do you run? I think that makes a lot of sense for me to ask around.
This is Chair McCormick. I'd like to take a quick poll. I wouldn't want to belabor this point. Do the commissioners feel like we need to continue to discuss this particular point or move on in our agenda? I will point out that on our agenda, which is posted at the Kansas Public Square website, the second bullet under new businesses, it's time to start planning a town hall in your area. So do we need to spend more time on this, or should we move on in the agenda? The chair recognizes Commissioner Lewis.
Says Commissioner Lewis, I would recommend we go ahead and move through the agenda. As you stated, it is on our agenda today to discuss town halls. We had one tentatively scheduled for Lawrence, and we were talking about doing these town halls. So I don't think we need to belabor the point. We can continue the work that we're doing.
This Commissioner McRoy, I second that.
This is the chair. Looks like we're in agreement. So take it away, Stacy.
Okay, we'll take a note. I was like, should I just go back and watch the recording and take notes? No, I'm like, no, I have to take notes, and it helps me know who said what. Okay, well then I think the other thing that I want to swing back on is for legislative priorities. The things that I've heard mentioned are Medicaid expansion, the driver's license suspensions, and Crown Act. And then to look at, I don't know of any bills specifically dealing with veterans benefits.
There are none, but I did speak with a few legislators, Senator Fauscudo and Senator Mary Ware. I also shared with Commissioner Penn some items that need to go into a transformational and revolutionary veterans bill in this state. And so I'm looking forward to her collaboration on that. And I'm not sure if Commissioner Penn, were you able to share that with Representative Penn?
Yes, actually, I didn't feel comfortable. I know this is your baby, so I didn't want to take it away from you. But we did speak briefly about it over the break, Christmas break. So was very encouraged. It looked great. Unfortunately, our times to meet didn't really they didn't really go well together. So we didn't get the opportunity to meet. But I have had a chance to look over Commissioner McRoy's almost like a bill, you say, but more so like his proposition and what he wanted to do. And I wanted to, this is a great opportunity right now because I had some questions for you, McRoy, in regards to that. Is as far as like as the commission, African American Commission, can we do something like that? I mean, I would, yes, that's a yes. I'm looking at Executive Director Nell right now, so I think it would be great, especially when it talks about attracting talent to the state. I don't know if you guys are aware, but there was a report that was recently released that shows the exodus of many states that have lost a large portion of their talent and their population after COVID. And we, unfortunately, one of those states, I want to say it was 6. And we are actually one of those states that lost a lot of our population. So the biggest issue that I understand is attracting talent and keeping people here. And one of those ways that we can do that's definitely with upping the game with the veteran benefit package. States like Colorado, even other states like South Dakota, they offer great benefits for their veterans, such as I want to say for property taxes and other things. And Kansas offers absolutely nothing. So that is something great that we can definitely get with my husband, Patrick Penn, the representative right now, and look forward to working with you on that.
And this Commissioner McRoy, you know, this is good. This is good legislation. It would be. It's bipartisan. We're championing veterans, and so when we're looking at the talent drain of our state and the fact that we're not keeping qualified talent in the state, that can become a very detrimental issue for us in our economy. So, you know, my suggestion is that we ask the Legislative Black Caucus and the legislator to pursue that. They have a baseline. It's the ideas that were submitted to them to put into a bill. So they have a place to start. And I want to go on record as saying we should model what Texas has for their veterans or try to beat what Texas has for their veterans. So with that, I yield back.
The chair recognizes Dr. Davis. Your hand's still up.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a great idea. You know, we've thought about some local recruitment for the veterans, but I really like what you're proposing. You know, I'm sitting here thinking of how many of our college students who aren't veterans who leave. I mean, you could see the state even offering college grads with certain number, you know, you could list 50 degrees that you need, giving them, you know, tuition rebate or something. Because it's a big problem. You know, a lot of folks my age, our kids are elsewhere, doing well, but elsewhere. One question I did want to ask: are any of you aware of any current bills or progress on reforming our bail system? You know, we say Kansas doesn't have a debtor's prison, but most county jails and city jails run that way. And if you look in the jails, you know, even in Salina, the disproportionate number of black males in jail, and most of them not for violent crimes.
Did you say bail? Did you say bail reform?
Yes.
This is Commissioner McCormick, and the state of Illinois has become the first state to eliminate bail for nonviolent offenses. It's one of the issues that we'll be pursuing here at the ACLU of Kansas as well. At any given time, there's about 6,000 people here in the state in jail, not convicted of anything, simply because they do not have the money to make bail. And your inability to make bail translates to a greater likelihood that you're going to be convicted because you're not out of jail working on your defense or even being able to hire a lawyer. So the chances are you're likely going to be convicted. I like that as an idea as well. I also like the general discussion that we've been having about the brain drain. The Wichita Eagle in the 80s did a pretty nice piece of journalism talking about why so many of the national merit semifinalists were leaving the state. When I joined the Eagle in the mid 90s, I wrote a series of stories about the black brain drain as well. There are some comparisons between the two, but our inability to keep talent at home at some point is going to have terrible consequences for the state. So I like that we're focused on this. And I think to Commissioner McRoy's point, I think this is an idea that could gain bipartisan traction. Yes, Stacy.
Yeah, this is Executive Director Nell. If you have a really good idea, Commissioner McRoy and Commissioner Penn, I would say let's approach the revisers and get it like actually drawn up. And if Talia, if you said that your husband, Representative Penn, would carry the bill, like in order for a bill to get introduced, it has to be an elected official who actually introduces the bill. Like we couldn't introduce a bill; it has to be an elected official. But as a group, as an individual, as an organization, if we have an idea for a bill, we could definitely approach the revisers and have a bill drafted. I think I love this idea, one, because it's a good idea. Two, it falls totally in with what I want. Say it with me now. Raise the profile of the commission. Raise the profile of commissioners. So if this would be something that we could take the lead on, I think it's a wonderful, like I said, it's the right thing to do, period. It would be bipartisan and it would help Kansas as just in general. So I think if this is something that if the two of you have a really good, strong idea and, be it as it may, we have a kind of a close contact to at least one rep who could introduce the bill, I would be completely in support of me figuring out. I've never introduced a bill. I've never written a bill, but I can get in contact with the revisers and see about that, if that's something that.
The chair recognizes Commissioner McRoy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner McRoy here. And so that was the intent, right? Because I as not a trained legislator, I don't know how to draft these bills, but I know what should go in it.
You don't have to. That's what the revisers are for.
And I'm thankful for a thought partner in Commissioner Penn on this, is that, I understood that submitting what needs to go into a bill to legislators would get the writers and the drafters around that. But maybe we need our own writers and drafters, so that way maybe Commissioner Penn and I can get together and say, hey, here's some good things that need to be in a bill for veterans. Can you write this up? And then let's look at it. That's a resource that we don't really have. I think we can come together on what needs to go into the bill, but then we need someone to draft it. So if you can furnish that person for us, then we will work with them. Absolutely. And then the second point is, I'd like the governor's office to take a look at the Commission on Veteran Affairs, because I don't think any of those commissioners are from the 9/11 era. And the largest demographic of living veterans right now are my peers and Commissioner Penn's peers, who are 9/11 veterans. And so, we need to look at that, because, some of the individuals that are informing these efforts on veterans may not be the right people to inform these efforts. And so a diversity of thought is very important on this. I yield back.
This is the chair. Stacy, did you have a thought on that, or shall we move on in the agenda?
I have thoughts on everything. I think for the sake of the agenda, and I don't know if this needs a motion or a movement, but I would encourage Commissioner McRoy and Commissioner Penn to get as many of your ideas down on paper as possible. And I can contact the revisers department, because like you said, for a bill to be a bill, I don't know, it all has to be Billy. I don't know what that even means, but there are people who do know. But it's my understanding that if you have an idea and you know what you want the bill to be about, then there are people who that is their job. Then the revisers, their job is to actually write it. And then, yeah.
This is the chair. What I'd recommend is that the three of you get together on that idea. Okay. And then once the bill is actually produced, bring it back to the commission for us to review. How does that sound?
Commissioner Penn, we're throwing homework your way.
Yeah, sounds like it. But hey, we're for it. The one thing is, too, I just want to have clarification. Representative Patrick Penn, I don't think he can carry the bill. He's not on the Veteran Affairs Commission.
Okay.
So when I was talking about it with him a couple of weeks ago, kind of just throwing the idea around, because we've talked about this for years, because we're veterans. My parents are veterans, and my parents purposely made sure they went to states, and so did we, to make sure that we can retire, like Texas and Colorado. I want to say Washington State is the other one as well, if I'm remembering correctly. But they offer great benefits, not just for the veterans, but also for the dependents, like their children. So we have something in Texas where if you get commissioned and also if you retire in Texas, you can send your kids to Texas to a state school for free. So those are kind of the things that we can just, we can kind of brush out later. But one of the things too is just we need to understand the process a little bit more, not just how to write the bill, but who to present it to. Because even though, I'm married to someone who actually is a legislator, he's not in the commission really, but he can definitely point us to the right direction of who to talk to that's on the commission. It used to be Pat Proctor, but I don't think he's on it this year. So, or this term at least. So, but there's somebody that can definitely help us, and I'll be looking forward to it.
This is the chair. I mean, I love this idea. And it appears that if we're successful in moving forward here, we'd actually be addressing not just a Veterans Affairs issue, but also the other issue of the brain drain, that we'd be figuring out a way to keep people here. Some of our most talented and most committed people here in the state. I like this idea. I'll pass to Stacy, who can
perhaps
take
I don't know if this may need a vote. Perhaps we just call it an official subcommittee, right? Like we can do subcommittees. This would be a subcommittee just so, for the sake of transparency in the operation of the commission, if Commissioner McRoy, Commissioner Penn, and I think you said myself, say we're going to work on this, the three of us work on it. I'll work on getting in the revisers involved. You guys will work on getting what you want the bill to say involved, and then we will figure out who it needs to carry the bill. Obviously Patrick's gonna know more than me, because I thought it just had to be a legislator had to introduce the bill early on, and then the leadership decides where it goes. But I've never tried to get a bill to the floor or to introduce. So we'll figure it out. But I think maybe we just call it a subcommittee and work on that. I do want to try to redirect us back to legislative priorities if there's anything, because if I'm going to do a little social media post, our legislative priorities, because everyone's like, do you have legislative priorities? Our legislative priorities are.
So this is Commissioner McRoy. Could that not be a legislative priority?
Oh, most assuredly. Is that the only one?
Well, that's the one that I would like to offer up as a legislative priority. That's Commissioner McRoy.
Commissioner Lewis, would you just want us to share our ideas on legislative priorities at this point?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I'll just go down I'll try to be brief here in this list. I think was already mentioned. I definitely concur with expanding expanding Medicaid. I think that's just simple. I don't think we need to expand on that, other than, no pun intended, but expand Medicaid. I think the momentum around really no tax on food, I think we are halfway there. We really need to be to zero. So continue that conversation. As a result, as I mentioned, some of the items that are listed in the from the work from the Council on Racial and Equity and Justice, there are some items that are already there listed that I think that we can take a look at. And I don't want to lose the momentum that was from that commission as it relates to policing in the state of Kansas. So continued efforts around police training and transparency. I'm really interested in maybe a bill that really talks about looking at in-depth stop data, because based on our research, this is where most of our issues with police and Black men in particular happen, at police stops, at an actually traffic stop. And so what are some vehicle descriptors? So for example, if you see 88 box Chevy with rims on it, probably can guess the color person that's, but they don't keep that type of data, just say 88 Chevrolet, but some other descriptive data there. Improving the Kansas child daycare, and this is really addressing early childhood that I think will impact workforce development. Broadband access, investing in mental health. I want to go back to a part of Medicaid. I believe that's a component of this, is addressing really Black maternal care as well in some way. And then lastly is really dealing with education and really just fully funding education, but more importantly, special education. We know that there are a large number of African-American males or African-American students that are in special education, and special education currently is not fully funded. I went back and looked at our school district legislative priorities back from 1994, and we were proposing to fully fund special education. It has not been fully funded. So to give you an example of what that means for us as a school system, we spend annually about maybe $18 million in special education, and we only receive about maybe 13 million. That's like 18,000. We spend 18 million, and we only receive about 13 million from the state. So that gap has to come from the general fund, which is now impacting all students. So when we think about fully funding special education, it's not just the special education students that's impacting, it's all students, because if it's not fully funded, that money has to come from somewhere, and it comes from the general fund. And then lastly is a current bill, House Bill 2567, that's already in law, is really impacting school systems. It's really, my opinion, as a result of critical race theory. As a result of this, school districts, teachers are now having to post all of their surveys.
You're talking about the Parent Bill of Rights thing?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Posting their surveys, any type of exam, any information we're getting from students, we have to post that, get parents' permission. Even if a student is having some suicidal thoughts, we have to contact the parent before taking care of the child. And so it's really impacting this school district's equity work, because it's limiting our ability to administer surveys for our students.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner. Stacey?
No, that was just it. Thank you.
Okay. I will note that we're approaching a time boundary at 3. Would you like to move us forward in the agenda, Stacey?
My biggest focus, we probably.
What about the third item under new business?
Oh, I definitely want to get to that, but I want to actually finish this legislative priorities thing as well. And I would like for us to probably focus it a bit, because I haven't been counting, but we've got a lot. And so, or either focus it or have a discussion of how to approach it. So for example, while there seems to be a general consensus about Medicaid expansion, only Dr. Lewis brought up funding for for special education, right? 2 people may have brought up the issue of bail, but I'm scrolling back to see what Dr. New had said. Only Dr. New brought up the driver's license issue, right? So I think I could type up what everyone has suggested, but which I could do, or do we want to try to agree, or do we want to, because again, raise the profile of the commissioners, that each of you take your sort of special thing and go with it. So it's even sort of like a discussion of how do we even want to approach our legislative priorities. That's my question.
The chair recognizes Commissioner Davis.
Thank you. Mr. Chair. Dr. Lewis was reading his list, and I'm saying, yeah. Boy, he looked at my notes last night. I mean, every last one of those is good. And the one I forgot was the in-depth stop data. And we tried to do that in Salina. Certain things are recorded, but the actual race of the driver is not officially part. Yeah, you could dig through and find it. But what happens is it'll be different in Salina, Gypsum, Abilene, and I think state guidance on this would be paramount as far as ending. You all know the term I'm trying to think of, and I'm blocking on it.
Profiling.
Thank you. I think that would, for a commission with statewide appeal, I think, I don't want to say it's low-lying fruit, but it's really important, because if you look at issues that Black folks in Kansas have issues and problems with, that's a big one. We've had ministers in town, depending on which car they drive, they get pulled over or they don't. That's a shame. And in a place of 50,000, they know who the guy is, but because he's in, the BMW and not the truck, what do you know? And with some of these, there's progress already being made. The no tax on food. I don't know if we'll have to spend as many resources. We can certainly give lip service to approval, but the governor seems hell-bent on pushing this through this year.
It is one of her priorities, yes.
And I don't know if we'll get much more. I mean, we can certainly sign our name to the letter, but and the maternal health care was one that I really had not thought of, but that's a real good one. I mean, when you talk about impacting us, that is so important. How we want to whittle the list down, I'll leave to those of you who are used to whittling lists.
That's the question.
But I would say, the things that we have, in our wheelhouse, what's in our talent wheel, things that we can do well, and where we're likely to get some traction.
This is the chair. I'd like to recommend that we make that list that you were talking about, Executive Director Nell, and then come back at our next meeting with our own list of 3 to 5 items that we think the commission should support. And then we could talk also individually as commissioners, which items we'd like to pursue as individual commissioners. I'd entertain any thoughts about that idea.
Let me, this is Executive Director Nell. Let me make sure I understand what you've said. So you do want me to type up like a list of this is what everyone has said, everything that everyone has put forth. And then you want people to still come with an additional list?
Yeah, this is the chair. Come back to the next meeting with a list of their own culled from that larger list that you're going to send out.
Thank you. That's my clarification. So thank you. So this is Director Nell. That I will type up a list of everything. I would maybe even clarify it to say everyone pick 3, like maybe pick your top 3. And if your top 3 is not something that everyone has also picked, then by all means, I'm not saying don't advocate on behalf of whatever you think is important. Okay, so I will type up everything that everyone has said, and I'll even go back and watch the video again to make sure that I haven't forgotten anything. And I will email that out so then everyone can say this is what we think is legislative priorities. My concern with us waiting even until, I guess if we do business, we have to have a meeting. If we vote on something, we have to have a meeting. Is that if we wait until February, by that point, the session is full swing. And as many of us know, they change quickly, things happen quickly, things move very fast. That if we wait too long, we could say that something's a legislative priority and it is either a done deal or it's already dead. Although things never really die, but
This is Commissioner Lewis. I definitely agree. I met with our legislators last night and then again this morning. I think they'll probably head off to Topeka next week. Could we call a special meeting to vote on these legislative priorities?
I'm good with that. but this is also my job, right? Like, you guys have lives. That's one thing I'm always very cognizant of, is that this is, I mean, I'm here 8 hours a day, every day. So, but.
Mr. Chair, we're on the commission because we care about these issues as well.
Okay.
Again, we're getting close to a time boundary. Do you want to have a brief conversation about this third item?
Yes. So I will do that. I will type everything up and email it out. Yes. So the third item is just dealing with, this is more than a 4-minute conversation, dealing with the incidents of racism that continue to happen because we're in America, and how much as a commission do we want to, how should we, would you like to, just all the discussions of what to happen. The Valley Center incident has gotten a lot of press, but you and I know that there are, without an exaggeration, probably a dozen things that happened last weekend that just didn't get the press. So the question becomes, do we want to get involved? How much do we want to get involved? When do we want to get involved? And then with the understanding, like we've mentioned before, we don't have any jurisdiction. Like, we don't have jurisdiction over Valley Center to make them do anything. As Commissioner McRoy said, we can't call the Kansas High School Athletics Association and say, hey, so we just need to, think that through.
Commissioner McRoy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Commissioner McRoy here. Yes, it goes back to what we have the power to do and what power we have to hold people accountable. I think we owe it to our Black children to call on the Kansas High School Athletics Association to implement sanctions and accountabilities for what took place at Valley Center High School. I was just appalled. I mean, when crowds are unruly, referees can apply a technical foul. The Kansas High School Athletics Association can take away wins. They can bar them from the playoffs. We need more than the Kansas High School Athletics Association saying that, hey, just be good students, just exercise good sportsmanship. No, I think we need to call on the Kansas High School Athletics Association for some accountability. And I would go as far as to say the administration at Valley Center High School as well. And so as far as I know, there are investigations that are being conducted, but these things kind of fall off the radar if the media is not covering them. And so I think we owe it to our constituents that even if it's a letter, calling out what happened and calling for a clear and transparent investigation and then accountabilities. I think, we have to operate in what we have the power to do, but I think we do owe it to our children to do something to preserve their psychological safety. I yield back.
This is the chair. Could I have a motion that we extend the meeting another 5 minutes?
Commissioner McRoy seconds.
Any opposed? Any discussion?
But point of order, I'll make a motion to extend the meeting by 5 minutes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Lewis, I second.
Great. Any discussion? All in favor, signify. Any opposed? Motion carried. The chair recognizes Commissioner Westbrook.
Yes, I'll try to be as brief as possible. So I understand that in the past we have written letters, hey, we're aware of a situation, but is it possible, and please forgive me for if we have done this and I'm just not remembering or recalling, but giving recommendations. So for that, the latest incident that did receive the media's attention, the commission provides several recommendations to address the situation moving forward. Is that outside of our boundaries? Is that doing too much as a commission? Outside of just writing a letter saying that, hey, we're aware of this, or we recognize that this is a situation. Do we have that power or influence to, again, address it? Hey, we're aware of a situation. These are the recommendations that KAAC has formulated. and would like to see.
This is the chair. Stacy, did you have a thought about that?
Yes, this is Executive Director Nell. Yes, we have done that before. We got involved in the CJ Lofton situation and did a letter. Actually held an additional meeting, invited members of the community in to talk about it, and drafted a letter. As I've stated before, if anything comes out under government letterhead, the governor's office gets eyes on it. Because if I'm putting it out under KAAAC, we are part of the governor's office. But yes, and that's the letter that's posted on our website. So we have definitely gotten involved before. I just wasn't going to get involved like that without coming to y'all and saying, okay, do we want to get involved? How do we want to get involved? What would that look like? I will help that happen any way I can.
This is the chair. First, I'd like to commend Commissioner McRoy for the work he's done on this already. He's already drafted a letter the two of us are going to be working on, and we're going to share with the commission. I'll also say that these incidents extend beyond Valley Center. My son experienced it. My niece, who lives in Valley Center, said this has happened there a lot. A teacher from Wichita called and said that when she questioned her sons, who are now college graduates, she said whenever they left Wichita to play basketball and they were in a rural community, these kinds of things happened, monkey sounds, things like that. And the fact that our kids are being exposed this way, it's very frightening for them. And so I would like for us to say something about this. The chair recognizes McRoy.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. And I took the liberty of just really educating myself on their website. I think to Commissioner Westbrook's point that, yes, I think that we are in the draft letter, we're looking at some steps and maybe, some things that they can do to help ensure this doesn't happen again. But that's one that, once we're done drafting that, I move that we share that around for, just inputs. But again, something needs to be done, and I yield back.
Great. This is Chairman McCormick. We're at another time boundary. Can I have a motion that we adjourn?
Wait, I have a question, or I have a suggestion. I'm already going to type up all the legislative priorities, email out. We've already had this idea of calling a special little meeting, maybe in 2 weeks, to go over legislative priorities. Why don't at that special meeting that we're already calling, that everyone's always said is a good idea, that by then you can also, I will include the draft of the letter. So at that meeting, the two things will be legislative priorities and draft of letter.
Great.
Okay.
Commissioners, how does that sound? I saw a few head nods.
Yes, I'm fine with that. This is Commissioner Lewis, because I have some ideas and on that.
That'd be great.
Subcommittee. Sorry.
Commissioner Davis, will 2 weeks allow too much time for people's memories to get dulled in Valley Center? And if so, I would suggest pushing that letter, sending it to us. We can send you individual comments back, and the executive director and chair can act on it. I'd like to get that letter sent out like ASAP.
This is the chair. I'm okay with that. Are you okay with that?
This is the director. Now, my concern is is the idea that this is supposed to be open to the public, right? Like these are open source meetings, that these are recorded, that, everything. So that this idea of, my concern is doing too much business in a format that's not open. That's my only concern. Well,
as long as we don't communicate among ourselves to create a open meetings violation. If we're making the decision that we're going to send the letter, we would not probably put the content of the letter up to public vote anyway. But I mean, 2 weeks isn't that long, but sometimes you got to strike soon.
Well, I'll ask the 7 of you, what do you want to do with that? I'm either way. We could do it next week. We could do it in 2 weeks.
When it happened in Salina, the boys in Hayes, our superintendent was on the phone with the Hayes superintendent the next morning. They had students expelled. I mean, for a short time, suspended, not expelled, and they had education. But you got to hit it while everybody remembers, which students were doing it, before their memories get vague.
Right.
And this, Commissioner McRoy, very briefly, we do want to do this, but also understand that the investigation is still pending as well. So,
fair point. Yeah.
Last point on this. I'm not so much worried about too much time elapsing because it is still constantly happening, and we're still in the thick of basketball season. So there'll be, a lot of kids from Wichita, a lot of kids from Topeka, a lot of kids, from Lawrence and Wyandotte County. So this wasn't a one-time thing.
Okay.
We need to be talking about the kinds of changes that Commissioner McRoy was referencing.
Thank you. Agreed.
So we're a little over. Could I have a motion to adjourn?
Commissioner Lewis, did we determine the date for the special call meeting?
Calendar.
This is the chair. Stacy, did you have a date in mind?
Now, I'm basing this on the fact that Fridays at 1:30 seem to be okay with everyone. So we could do, if today is the 6th, we could say the 20th. That's 2 weeks. And then we have a regular scheduled meeting on the 3rd of February is our normal monthly meeting.
Commissioner Lewis, I'm just trying to think about our legislators getting in session. Is that too late? Do we need to meet next week?
Session starts next week, and it's my understanding that they don't do a ton of work in that first week. However, I remember the first week of last session, people said they're not going to do a ton of work, and a crap ton happened. So I don't really. It's hard to know. Again, I am available. If the consensus of the group is let's meet next Friday at 1:30, I will do all the things that need to happen in order for us to meet next Friday at 1:30.
If not, this is Commissioner Lewis. If we could maybe get the draft maybe next week and be ready to have a final set of priorities on the 20th, I think that's fine. Just a suggestion.
Yeah. Either way, I will do what y'all decide.
Commissioner Davis, actually next Friday would, because we have a simple task to do before then, and I mean it's go over the list and prioritize them. I would think 1 week should be enough time for us to do that.
Okay. So the meeting is next Friday, 13th.
Yep.
Okay.
Commissioner Davis, I will have to get off. My nurse is knocking on my door here. Just in case the move to adjourn doesn't come up in the next 30 seconds.
Well, we still need a motion to adjourn, and a second. So,
okay.
Commissioner Lewis, I move that we adjourn.
Commissioner McRoy seconds.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify, please.
Aye.
Motion carries. See you all next time.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the work. Thank you.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
great meeting today.